Chris, tell us about props or flops.
Props or flops. Folks, are new and improved props or flops. This is where you all get to participate in another segment. All you need to do is leave the hashtag props or flops, but IG. Don't just do that. Make sure you tag me. Make sure you tag Comic Book Cannon. Post on Instagram any book that you may have just picked up. Maybe it's a book that you're speculating on and you haven't picked up yet, but you're interested in investing in it, whatever the case may be. And I will pick at least 3 of your guys' books to talk about on the show each week. And I will be giving them props or flops specifically from an investment standpoint. All right. So again, all you need to do, if you just bought it, take a picture of the book. If you don't have it, you can take a stock picture, anything. But make sure that when you post it and you hashtag and you tag us, talk a little bit about it. Tell me, like, I just got this book for $5, or I just got a winning bid of this book on eBay. What do you think? Did I pay too much? Props or flops? Or I'm specking on this book. It's going for this much on eBay. What do you think? Is this a good buy right now? Props or flops? And guys, I will pick a few and we'll go over them and I will break it down live. And of course, Jeff will give his input. Our guests will give their inputs. And and take it or leave it. Do what you do.
Do what you do. Now, Chris, you do what you do. We have 3 books here.
Yep.
Which one are we going with first? Talk to me. You know what? No, it's on our sheet. Hold on.
Yeah, DC. Want to do some DC?
Yeah, why not? We could all use some DC love here.
Yeah, we had an awesome DC submission. Guys, I'm going to try to read this. I'm old and blind, and I should be wearing my reading glasses. But Crack-a-Coon Comics with Mr. Miracle #2 from the original Kirby run submitted this one for props or flops. Let's read what Crack-a-Coon had to say. I am a huge Kirby fan, so I'm always in the market to pick up his books. I recently started collecting keys from the DC work, including his 4th world titles, New Gods, Forever People, Mr. Miracle, Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, and his latest DC works, Commandy, The Demon, OMAC. I bought this specific book, which features the second appearance of Mr. Miracle himself and the first appearance of Granny Goodness as a worthy addition to my personal collection, but I would not be upset at seeing this book and others of Kirby's DC library increase in value if, a big if, DC can save its cinematic universe in the near or distant future. After a disastrous use of the fourth wall characters like Darkseid and Steppenwolf in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and the cancellation of Ava DuVernay and Tom King's, there we go.
All right, sorry, that's my bad. Sorry.
Now you got me laughing. Now you got me giggling. Tom King's proposed New God film. Yeah, that was heartbreaking. That was trash can. Is there good investment value here in these fourth wall keys? Is now the time to buy, or is DC investing at just swimming in too dangerous of waters? Okay.
Real quick, before you give your input here, want to remind you all, you can give us your input as well. Just props and flops. That's all we want to see from you guys. Let us know if this specific, all of our books here, but this one right here, give it to us. Let us know what you think. Go ahead.
So what I want to point out, though, is there's no price point. I don't know what this individual paid for this book. So, I can't sit here and say, well, you overpaid for it or you got a really good deal. Can't say anything like that. But this is what I will say. And I say this a million times whenever I talk about DC as speculation. We have to remember that comic books, first off, we have to remember that speculation isn't just the short-term flip. It isn't just related to movies. I think we've really created this idea of that's what speculation means. When we speculate, it's this dirty word now. Speculating ties directly to investing. Speculation means you are picking up a comic book, because we're talking comics, and you're paying money for that comic book, no matter how little or how much, with the hopes of that book increasing in value at some point in time in the future. That's all speculating is. So what do I think about early Bronze Age, 15 cent Jack Kirby DC titles like Mr. Miracle? I think they are a great book to collect, for my humble opinion, due just to if you're a comic book lover with the history and the art of Kirby. I love Mr. Miracle as a character. I myself started looking to get holes filled in that original Kirby run and in the 1980s run as well. But these are books, they do hold value, because remember, comic books don't need movie hype to have collectability and to have long-term value. If you look at what this book is selling for in high-grade CGC, I think a 9.8 is well above the $1,500 mark. I mean, that's a key comic book. I have to give this book and this pickup a props. Pending the fact that you didn't pay some crazy amount of money for it, right? You paid a good, solid, fair market value for this book and whatever grade it is. Why do I give this book a props? Because of what I just said. Comic books don't need movie hype or an MCU or even a successful DCEU to have long-term value. Now, if you're looking at buying this book, hoping that it gains value in the next 6 months or a year to flip and make money, then maybe it's not for you. But if you are a collector of comics that is more concerned with the long-term hold, absolutely. Because here's the plus side. If Warner Brothers ever does get their crap together and we get, not even, obviously the connected universe is what drives us as fans a lot. We know that with the success of the MCU. But even if somehow they come out with a really solid Mr. Miracle film or something like that, I mean, I see that happening with Black Adam. If this movie, who cares about what they've been doing for the last 10 years now? Like, if Dwayne Johnson comes out and does awesome Dwayne Johnson stuff, and we just have an awesome movie that can really, and I'm not saying it's going to propel Black Adam books to these extremes, but that's going to be there, and we're going to gravitate to that, and it's going to keep Black Adam fans and reintroduce new fans to Black Adam in a way that was never there before. So
let me say this, Chris, if you don't care, like that particular run, like Kirby's run on the Fourth World was really at the time was probably ahead of its time. Mm-hmm. And if you read that, and specifically Mr. Miracle, that could actually translate well to a TV show or a movie. I think more of it, to me, it's HBO Max with DC. Like, I think that the HBO Max connection, I think, because they do that kind of stuff really, really well. And I don't know that is like that particular book is like a great book as far as long-term investment. I think it'd be a good one to have. I love that particular run of Mr. Miracle. But I think that Kirby, the whole Fourth World, I think that could have some long-term potential. That's just me. But I'm a DC homer too, though. So
you are DC homer, who's becoming my nemesis, because that was going to be my point.
Sorry.
Damn you, Jimmy. The whole Kirby goodness is goodness, right? And including the first appearance of Granny Goodness. You see what I did there with the goodness?
But that was so clever.
But like, honestly though, like, you can't go wrong with a book like this. I'm going to give it props myself. Jimmy, sorry, we skipped over you. We want to definitely hear what you have to say, props or flops. But again, just the Kirby effect alone, props right there. Jimmy, go for it.
No, definitely props for me. I think that's a solid book, especially anything Kirby did. And, especially when he came to DC from Marvel after that whole fallout. And then you got the Fourth World, which, like I said, it was ahead of its time, really.
We're losing Jimmy. He's behind his time. So we'll just pick it up from here. Again, I'm gonna
have AT&T.
Yeah. Don't say it, Chris. You're gonna get I'm gonna say Jimmy goes to props. There you are. All right.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened, but yeah, no, definite props for me.
Yeah, okay. Again, all aligned here. It's rare where we have that the trifecta. All props here. I do want to bring up a good point from our friend Joe, aka 360 Comics. Speculation is not gambling. It is choosing a high risk, high reward type of investment, which is suitable for some investors. And again, you take all the facts in, right? You take all the facts. Is this book something I want to hold long term and potentially sell, keep for my personal collection, what have you? you take all of those factors in. And again, there is potential with a Mr. Miracle film or being associated in some sort of DCEU. And again, as well as Kirby and the Silver Age goodness, it's a props. All right, moving on, Chris. Your second book, Props or Flops, from the community asking you. What do you got?
All right, guys. We got some awesome Spidey stuff. And I love talking about Spidey books.
We all love some Spidey.
Yep. Who do we got? Who was it? With their Secret Wars number 8 submission from none other than Matt Labno. He's in the house. 630 collectibles here.
I almost said 3.
Yes, Secret Wars number 8. Of course, this is the origin. It's the origin of the Black Symbiote suit. Classic Mike Zeck cover, of course. So let's see what 630 collectibles had to say here, and actually included a little back and forth he had with another good friend of the channel, Maz. Maz's Toy Box. But let's go into this. I have been looking for a high-grade raw copy of this book, but I have not found one for a price I would be willing to pay. The cover is easily in my top 5 favorite covers. It is definitely a good one. I am still waiting out for a great deal, but if I were to purchase a high-grade raw today for the trending price, would you give that purchase a props or flops? Okay, I love this, Matt, if you're still here. This is, and guys, for those that want to submit to props or flops, this is an amazing setup. If you don't have a book already that you're showing off. So he's stating here, I'm really in the market to get this book. I've been holding off if I paid fair market value of what this book's selling for right now. Props or flops. Now, before I get into my personal opinion and give it a props or flops, let's read what this back and forth was. We actually have Amazing Spider-Ham say, definitely agree with Maz. And he's saying that's actually out of order. And he's replying to what Maz said right down here. This book will only climb more with the movie slated to come out. And they're talking about the Secret Wars movie, which is a confirmation. It's just a matter of how much you are willing to spend. And then 630 set up here, something like, where will the prices be once we see the Black Suit Spidey? If I wait, could I potentially get a better deal? Is this book immune to the sharp decreases that have been happening to the books right after releases of movies and shows? Maz replies saying, I feel the Black Symbiote books will always hold value, so it may take a knock, but I don't feel it will drop below current prices. Okay. Big shout out to Maz for chiming in on this and really adding some context to what I want to say. If you look at this book on the market in graded copies and raw copies, it has been a very steady investment. You could go back to, 3, 4, 5 years ago, pre-COVID even, of course, and this book continues to increase in value. You see outliers like what you always want to do is you want to take a rolling average. If it's for raw books, because you get a lot on the sales census, take a period of like 30 days. I think there was a period sometime last year where it was trending around 700 to 800 and you had like an 1100 sale in there. I mean, who knows? It could be a 2-book lot that got pulled in that is just an outlier. So you got to kind of throw away the outliers. But if you look at it, it's trending upward like this. One important factor about this book as well, while we had a COVID boom, during the summer of 2021 leading into the fall of 2021, as of late over this last year, we've seen some books on the market, not all of them, cool off some. We've even had Solid Keys drop off by 20 and 30%, but of course they increased by like 300% the year prior. So this book has stayed steady. So this is what I have to say to 630. You have a couple things riding on this, okay? We do have a Secret Wars movie coming. We don't know if they're going to take from the original. They're going to take from the 2015. I've been saying I think they're going to take from both, okay? We also have a symbiote, and if you haven't seen the movie yet, shame on you. So no spoilers here, but if you haven't seen...
It's beyond.
No Way Home. We have a black symbiote
Stop
in the MCU.
Shame on you if you haven't seen it, and if we spoil it for you, don't say.
I mean, if you're speculating on this book, you can look at there's a Secret Wars, Avengers Secret Wars movie coming out that could have implications towards this book. But we also have a symbiote in the MCU that's off of Venom. Okay. I've been saying for multiple years now, ever since the first Venom film, if we ever see Tom Holland's Peter Parker Spider-Man have a black symbiote attached to him, this book, as well as any other one, Amazing Spider-Man 252, Spectacular 90, Marvel Team at 141, in this one, they're gonna go bananas. Absolutely bananas. And to what Maz was saying, we've been seeing, and Jeff, you know that I've been talking about this a lot. FOMO is absolutely out of control right now. We are seeing books, oh, so-and-so's left hand is going to show up in this movie. But first appearance,
stop it. Yeah.
too high, too fast, and they've been dropping like flies. While there is ebb and flow even with good characters, and there are extreme dips sometimes with good characters. Look at what happened after Endgame. Thanos' first appearance dipped hard. It's been coming back up now. Why? Because comic books have intrinsic value that don't have anything to do with MCU. It's going back up, but it did after Thanos was done. I do believe that could be ebb and flow to this book if we ever get the symbiote attached to Spider-Man, but I don't think it's going to be a huge dip because of what this book already is on its own. Therefore, 630, Matt, I always recommend having patience, okay? Always have patience with your purchases. But I do believe that you're on a time limit here. You do have something working in your favor with the economy still. The economy is still, it's crazy. We don't know what's going on. And it could have another negative effect on some books in the market. So have some patience, but be careful, because if you really want to own this book, I don't think right now is a horrible time to buy. Oh. I would still give this book props if you paid recent fair market value for this book.
Jimmy, you are our guest co-host. You go next.
No, I agree. And, there's a couple of things with that particular book. Like, I look at a lot of books almost like stocks, and you were talking about the economy and the things that go on. And there are some books that you would just consider to be a blue chip book. Now, while this is probably not a high blue chip, it's still a blue chip. And it's always going to hold its value. And it's like Chris said, yeah, it dipped down some, but it went up 300% before. So it's still higher than it was. It's got Spider-Man, check. It's got potential ties to the MCU, check. And it's the black suit, check. And those three things kind of make that a book. It's a definite prop book for me. I think Chris is right. I think if it ever gets attached into the actual MCU, it could explode. I would definitely, all books are going to kind of do this. You just got to kind of look at what they've done historically to see where they really are. But no, I think that's a great book to have. I have multiple copies of that book myself. If I find one and it's in good condition at a good price, I always pick it up. I think that's a definite book to grab.
100%. I'm going to say props as well. Again, we're all agreeing here. I can't believe it. But yeah, it's an important comic book in the history of Spider-Man, Marvel, and now it's going to be cinema. It absolutely will be. Yeah. People are eagerly anticipating Tom Holland in a black suit with the symbiote, right? Yeah. So bottom tier, what is this? What is Secret Wars number 8 a key of? It is the first introduction of that black suit symbiote, right? It took a while to create this story. They didn't have this story in place when it happened. When you have that iconic kind of Secret Wars 8 cover with him standing there, but it was the catalyst for that, and it's led to where it is now, where there's going to be now 3 Venom movies. You have a symbiote in the MCU, and again, this is a book to have. I would say that the dip is here too, and maybe buy it now, because when they start rolling out news, which is far away, but news with the next Spider-Man trilogy, as well as these Secret Wars, it's definitely going to be a key to have.
I want to speak to bottom tier's comment here too. Not sure that the arc will play out like the comic, even if we get a Secret Wars movie. Here's the thing. If we're talking specifically, not the story arc of Secret Wars, the original 1984 Secret Wars, but the story arc of the Black symbiote suit, absolutely. I think Kevin Feige wants it more than anyone. Why? Because Sony said Venom's ours. And what did all the fans say?
Yep.
How do you have a Venom movie without Spider-Man? They want it done more than anything. That symbiote is attaching to Tom Holland before Tom Holland is done playing Spider-Man. Mark my word. Clip this for when it happens. Let's come back to it.
It's here, episode 114, comic book canon. So we're all giving it props. All right, Chris, we have one more book to go over for props or flops, and then it's another segment after this that y'all know and love. What is it, Chris?
Yes. So this was I picked this one because of it being a bit of a unique book. Than just standard Marvel spec, MCU spec, or even DC stuff. So we're going with some indie, some dark horse. We got a submission of Bang #1 from this is from Family Collected, I believe, Northern Cali local here. So Family Collected, thank you so much for submitting this book. One thing Family Collected did not add any context. Family Collected, if you do this in the future, adding context definitely helps. But let's talk about it anyways, guys. Bang #1. I think the reason why Family Collected probably posted this is because Family Collected is probably aware that this property has been optioned by Netflix for a film, not a show, a film starring Idris Elba. I love Idris Elba. I love him. I don't think I've seen necessarily anything horribly bad with him in it. He's always doing some decent stuff. I don't know much about the book, never read it. It does sound like a really cool concept, like a lot of thriller, like mixed with like sci-fi, like somebody has memories that they don't know how they got there of like a murder or something like that. Crazy stuff. It sounds really, really interesting. Kudos to all these, the more indie storylines that they're doing, getting out of the superhero genre, right? Now remember though, this props or flops is not based on the story. It sounds like a really cool story that I would give props to all day long. But this book, which came out a couple years ago now, it's not been doing much of anything on the market. This announcement for it being optioned was a couple months ago. You got a good few little books that sold for around $15 back in August, and it hasn't really sold much of anything since. If you go on eBay right now, there are a ton of these books sitting up there as auction items, as buy it nows, and nobody's bidding and nobody's buying it. I am going to 100% give this book, in terms of investment, a big flops. And let me just explain further. And I'm going to reiterate this because I've talked about this before. If you are in the spec game, that's all gravy. And when I say in the spec game, I say that in the cliche way. Because what did I say before? Speculating is just anybody that cares about future monetary value of some of the comic books that they buy, right? Most of us speculate to some extent. But when I say the spec game, I'm talking about that quick flip, right? Even maybe a long-term flip, maybe whatever. I just don't think that the majority of collectors should be looking at indie titles getting optioned is a book that's ever going to bring you a return on your investment. Now, I'm not saying that you can't, maybe, and I do this sometimes, and maybe you guys, Jeff, Jimmy, or maybe audience, maybe you guys do this sometimes as well. I buy my books via previews, via mycomicshop.com. I get 35% off cover price. I love boom stories. I like a lot of image stories. Haven't read too much dark horses of late, but I often might buy a couple issues of a new #1 title if I think it's an interesting story, because what will I do? I already am getting them at undercover price, and I'll read one because I want to read the story, and then I might hang on to one just in case it does get optioned, And if the book starts selling for $15 for a couple of weeks, and I could sell it for $15 and make a few bucks in my pocket, that's fine and dandy. But once something gets optioned and a cover price book starts selling for $10, $12, $15, $20, $30, for me, I don't even get fazed by it. I don't even hear it. I don't hear the nonsense. I don't hear the white noise, whatever it is, because they just simply, more often than not, don't go anywhere, even if they come to fruition. Even if, now this is a movie, a Netflix movie. How many people are going to go watch this movie and are going to go flock to eBay and start getting into bidding wars over this book? I'm sorry. I just don't see it happening. This book is absolutely a flops for me.
Jimmy.
No, it's a flop for me too. And I actually read Bang. And it's a good story. I like a lot of the indie titles. One of the things that I do, and I've always done this since I've been collecting, is similar. I buy from previews too, and I'll read through, and I will generally pick up 3 copies of any #1 book that's coming out that I think has a good storyline, or I could see as a movie or a TV show. And I'm getting it at less than cover price.
Yep.
If you can sell it for $30, you're making 10 times your original investment. That's a good return on investment. But most of these books, I love Idris Elba, love him. He's one of my favorite actors. Absolutely love that cat. And if it comes out with a great trailer and the price pops, I'll sell every one of them I got over here at that time. But as far as like a long-term book that's going to be worth $1,000 someday, that's just not one of those books, in my opinion.
Well said right there. Again, there's been so many indie books that have made it to the big screen, little screen, and they just go by the wayside. I mean, Paper Girls was an interesting one. That was a decent series. I thought it got weaker as the episodes went along. It got canceled. But even before the first episode dropped, I don't think those books were selling very well. And I don't know, people are trying to find the next Walking Dead. That's gonna be a tall order.
Well, and to that point though, and I think Chris said it was, you can go on eBay right now and you can find them everywhere. If the print room was very high, what makes Walking Dead so valuable is it had a small print run. There was not a ton of those books printed when they first put them out. That makes a huge difference. The rarity of it makes a huge difference. And I think Bang had a pretty decent sized print run. Like I said, it's a good story. It's a cool story. The concept's interesting. I think it'll be a cool movie. But as far as that book having, like a long-term value where it's just no. Yeah.
For sure. And there you have it right there. That was all flops from us. Again, we agreed on all 3. That's amazing. That is amazing. It rarely ever happens. Jimmy, you may be, I don't know, you're showing your worth here. You may be in line for the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame.